Good morning, everybody. Happy Friday. I'm Eimear Callaghan. I'm the Business Solutions Manager here at Tourism Northern Ireland, and I'm delighted to welcome you all along to this morning's briefing all about our newly launched programme, which is the Northern Ireland International Market Access Programme. That's quite a tongue twister, so we'll just call it IMAP from now on. So this is a specifically tailored programme for Northern Ireland tourism businesses, and it's designed in partnership with Tourism Ireland. And I'm delighted to welcome along Niamh Kinsella from Tourism Ireland, who's the IMAP Programme Manager, and we'll be hearing from her later on this morning. So our agenda for this morning is a quick welcome from me. I'm going to take you through the background to the programme, why we need it, the objectives, and then I'm going to hand over to Niamh for all the detail about the programme, what it covers, the eligible costs, who are the eligible businesses, how to apply, which is obviously very important, and then we're going to have a question and answer session. So please make sure to feel free to pop in your questions into the question and answer function, and we'll try to cover off as many as possible at the end of the session. And we're anticipating that the session will last around 45 minutes. It's also going to be recorded, so we'll be able to send out a recording to all that have registered following this morning's session, and we'll also have it on tourismni.com as well if you want to listen back. So hopefully you're sitting comfortably, you've got a nice cup of tea in front of you, and yeah, we'll get going. So first of all, just a quick introduction to the Business Solutions team here in Tourism Northern Ireland, and I'm sure you're very familiar with all my colleagues. And we're the team that mainly focus on connecting you, our industry, with overseas buyers. And we do that through a range of viable platforms. And a significant part of our day job is spent engaging with operators, updating them on all things Northern Ireland, and ensure that we're keeping ourselves front of mind with the end goal of securing more business from Northern Ireland. So I suppose our approach since the onset of the pandemic back in March 2020 has been very much on creating opportunities for the Northern Ireland tourism industry to do business with overseas buyers through virtual platforms, be that in group leisure, in golf, in luxury, or in MICE or business events. So as you could all, I can imagine, we move from our tried and tested formats, so the face-to-face ones such as Meet the Buyer and fam trips, and we move to fully virtual platforms. So since last March, in partnership with Tourism Ireland, we've created over 1,500 opportunities for Northern Ireland tourism businesses, from webinars to virtual trade shows, virtual site inspections, FAMs, you name it, we've done it. And we're now delighted to see the return now of face-to-face activity. And thank you to everyone here today on the session, as I know many of you have been involved in all those virtual platforms and trade shows. Thank you so much. A second focus for us has been a focus on education, be that industry briefings, partnerships, and industry qualifications. So we now have 30 representatives across Northern Ireland who have their site certified incentive specialist qualification, and 10 industry completed the digital event strategist qualification from PCMA. And a huge focus as well for us has been creating the right environment for you to do business, be that financial supports, access to cooperative marketing campaigns, access to our content pool, website development programs, experience development programs, and there's been a whole range of activity on offer to support our recovery. And you can find details of the latest support on tourismni.com. And many of these programs have been funded through the Tourism Recovery Action Plan. That's really what's guiding all our work streams this year. And that has supported a wide range of activity. I suppose another thing just to point out is all the extensive consumer research that has been ongoing, and it really shows that our visitors still want reassurance with regards to COVID. And we now have over 2,000 Northern Ireland tourism businesses that are all good to go. So if you haven't already done so, I'd encourage you to apply to this process, and there's more details on tourismni.com as well. So today is all about providing you with more information about our new Northern Ireland IMAP scheme, which launched Monday of this week. And as I said, this is a collaboration between Tourism Northern Ireland and Tourism Ireland, and it's funded through the Tourism Recovery Action Plan. So it's important to note that this Northern Ireland IMAP is different to the original IMAP that was launched during the summer, as this is specifically tailored to the needs of our tourism or of our Northern Ireland tourism businesses. But I suppose, what is the need? Prior to the pandemic, our focus was really on increasing the number of appropriate Northern Ireland industry attending overseas sales and marketing platforms. We needed more market-ready industry in markets selling Northern Ireland as a destination. But there were barriers such as the cost of travel, the time away from the office, the uncertainty, I suppose, of trying to find the right buyers in the right market. And now in a post-COVID world, those barriers are still there, and especially more so whenever I am sure many of your sales and marketing budgets have been cut or simply don't exist at all. So we've listened, I suppose, to your feedback around the challenges that lie ahead for the recovery. And so we've worked together to create this specific programme to really help you recover. So in terms of the objectives of the programme, what we're trying to do then is obviously just support the recovery by enabling greater access to core overseas markets. We're trying to remove those barriers that I mentioned, such as cost and time away from the office, etc. And that will really better enable you to go forward, sell Northern Ireland in a more supportive environment. And it's really as well thinking of our buyers, making it easier for them to buy Northern Ireland. And people buy from people, so it's very important to have that face-to-face connection. And finally, we want to build on the legacy of 2019. If you remember back, 2019 was a stellar year. We passed, for the first time ever, the 1 billion economic impact target for tourism in Northern Ireland. We had the open at Royal Portrush, we had the end of Game of Thrones series, so it was a fantastic year. So we want to build on that amazing legacy and the awareness that was created. So that's what Northern Ireland IMAP is here to do. So before I hand over to Niamh for all the detail, all the hard stuff, here's a few handy sources of information for you. So this is our page on Tourism NI, where we list all our upcoming B2B shows and opportunities. So this is where you'll find all the latest trade shows, the golf shows, the luxury shows, the business event shows, and we update those usually on a weekly basis, but as soon as an event is confirmed and we have the recruitment details ready to go. And this page also has a link to the details of the scheme. There you can see it there highlighted. So you'll be able to link over to the scheme as well there. And please ensure also you're signed up to receive our e-zines, and that's where we put out our expressions of interest. And you can sign up to that on the homepage of tourismni.com, but please ensure that you tick those two boxes to make sure you receive the emails from our team. So the two boxes are business solutions mailings and business tourism trade show recruitment box. So make sure you tick those two boxes. So that's it from me on the background. I'm now going to hand over to Niamh Kinsella from Tourism Ireland, who's the IMAP Programme Manager, and she's going to go through the detail of the scheme. And just remember, pop in your questions into the question and answer function, and we'll try to cover as many of those at the end. So, okay, over to you now, Niamh.
Thanks, Eimear. And hello, everybody. I'm delighted to be here from Tourism Ireland to help launch this really exciting opportunity for Northern Ireland businesses through the NI IMAP. I'll be taking you through step by step what's involved, how to apply, but the campaign is launching at a really exciting time in our international markets, because in all of our key markets, the biggest ever international campaign has just launched, over £13 million investment, the Green Button campaign, all about driving bookings from our key international markets. So that's the backdrop during which you can undertake your B2B and MICE activities, and it's really going to create a huge awareness among trade partners of Ireland, Northern Ireland as a destination. So I'd just like to share with you a short video to give you a sense of what this is about. Thanks, Barry.
that trip to Ireland yet? Press the green button and visit the island of Ireland. See Ireland.com.
Thanks, Barry. So back to us. I think you'll see that's a great backdrop to what you'll be undertaking, hopefully as a result of the support of the Northern Ireland IMAP. So, sorry, I've skipped ahead one slide. All of the information that you'll need is on tourismirelandindustryopportunities.com. I think many of you are already well familiar with this website. It's where you find out about what's happening in the international markets. If you're not registered, please do register. And you can see there the green button toolkit, the green button offers campaign, and we'll touch briefly on those opportunities at the end of the presentation. But the main focus today is the Northern Ireland Industry Market Access Programme. And if you click through on that button, it'll take you through to the specific Northern Ireland IMAP, which we're delighted to be working with Eimear and her team on to support Northern Ireland businesses to get back out to market, to those lucrative international markets, and drive revenue for your tourism businesses. So in a nutshell, what is the IMAP? It's the Industry Market Access Programme, a joint initiative with Tourism Ireland and Tourism Northern Ireland, all about supporting you, the industry, to get out, excuse me, back out and connect with your key stakeholders in the international markets as soon as possible. As Eimear said, taking away those barriers that maybe made it more difficult. So in terms of what activities are supported under the programme, on a cooperative basis, it's sales calls, B2B sales calls or MICE sales calls. It's attending shows and events, again with a B2B or MICE focus. As I say, it's a cooperative programme, so we recognise the value of your time and expertise, and we support up to 80% of the eligible costs for your activities, from a minimum of £1,600 and capped at a maximum of £6,500. Those activities, you can, once you are approved under the programme, once you've submitted and had your application approved, you can undertake them from now right through to the end of March next year. So who qualifies and what's involved? It's all about having relevant experience and being market ready, being B2B ready or MICE ready if that's the segment you're chasing for your business. You need to offer bookable experiences. That's one of the qualifying criteria as well. Having taken the Good to Go programme actually is also one of the qualifying criteria, which Eimear mentioned earlier. It's possible for every business to submit one application, but that one application can cover multiple activities. So it could include more than one sales trip. It could include attending a show and undertaking sales calls in different markets. Applicants who were successful under the first phase of the IMAP may also submit an application under this new programme. And something worth noting that could be of interest to hotel groups or groups of attractions is that both the group and the individual members may each submit an application. We've talked about the target there, so under B2B, that covers group leisure, golf, luxury, and then the various MICE segments. The window of opportunity to apply is from now right through to the end of November of this year. But as applications are approved on a first come, first served basis, we'd urge you don't wait until the last 10 days of November there. You know, it's worthwhile, if you're seriously interested in the programme, which we hope we are, to start planning your application and getting it through. In terms of eligible costs under the IMAP, where relevant, event registration and attendance costs can be covered. Your travel costs once you leave Northern Ireland, your flight or ferry, and then all of your travel costs in the marketplace. So whether it's taxis, trains, even vehicle hire or internal flights, depending on where you're headed to. We've tried with this programme to keep it as simple and straightforward as possible. So in order to cover your costs of accommodation when in market and your meals, we've established a set of fixed per diem rates for every 24-hour period you spend in market. So that cuts down on the need for you to hold on to those receipts for that coffee you grabbed on the go and the sandwich that you had for lunch. It'll make it much more simple. So you'll see in the IMAP guidelines, all those rates are set out per different market area. We've talked a little bit about the starting amounts, or the amounts that are supported under the fund. Starting at £1,600, that represents 80% of your eligible costs. So that in practice means that you need to be spending a minimum of £2,000 before we can process your application. And no matter how much you choose to spend, the sky's the limit, but the maximum cap we put on that is £6,500. As I say, all of the detail of the programme and what qualifies and what doesn't, and the terms and conditions are set out very clearly in the Northern Ireland IMAP guidelines document. And we would recommend that you take the time to go through this carefully. We've added to the document based on our experience of running the pilot programme last summer, where maybe it was necessary to be a bit more specific and call things out more clearly. Queries should be sent through, and unfortunately the font has changed there. We have a dedicated email address, imap@tourismireland.com, and that comes directly to myself and my colleague Audrey O'Connor, who's the programme administrator. So you can come to us with your queries, and that's also the place you send through your application form to. So what are the steps in the application process? Again, we've tried to keep it as simple and straightforward as possible. You can download the application form from the industryopportunities.com site. Reading those guidelines carefully, you complete in full the application form, the Northern Ireland application form. And again, this is a new form specifically for the new Northern Ireland IMAP. And you send it off to us at the dedicated email address. We'll take about 2 weeks to go through your application form. We may be back in touch with you with a bit of feedback if some details are missing or we need clarifications. And then ideally, we'll be approving your application. And then once you get that confirmation back from us, you're free to set about undertaking your activity. And you'll notice a little asterisk there. I'll talk about a detail on that at a later stage. And once you're done, you simply gather together all of the receipts and necessary backup and send it off to us, and we'll turn around your payment directly to you. So just taking a little look at the sales calls and shows and what's involved. In-person events only, in-person sales calls. I think we're all so happy that the world is opening again. It's all about getting back in touch, back face to face with your buyers in the market. Again, a learning from the first iteration of the IMAP program is that it's necessary for you to establish your outline itinerary for your sales calls trip before you send through your application. We understand that it can be difficult maybe to pinpoint the precise date at this stage, but in order for us to understand how many per diems, how many overnights in market you'll be spending, we need to get that outline itinerary from you. Under the program, we expect an average as a minimum of 4 sales calls per day, but we do allow for travel days as well. And your visits really need to be undertaken, again, harking back to that market ready and being ready to get up and go. You should be undertaking those sales calls independently of the local Tourism Ireland market office. I'm sure the colleagues will be delighted to see you if you have time in your schedule to pop in and say hello, but they won't be able to actually support you in creating that itinerary. In terms of the shows and events, again, it's in-person shows and events, getting back out in front of the buyers. So the Northern Ireland IMAP, as Eimear mentioned, is specifically tailored to the needs of Northern Ireland industry. So under the programme, shows and events which are supported by Tourism Ireland and for which a recruitment process is in place through Tourism Northern Ireland are supported, are eligible for the fund. That asterisk is to remind you that you may be applying to us for approval to attend a show before the recruitment process has concluded. So while we may approve your application, that doesn't mean that you have secured a place at the show. You'll need to get that approval in writing from Eimear and the team from Tourism Northern Ireland. So just keep that in mind. Under the Northern Ireland IMAP, you can also apply to attend a B2B or a MICE show or event that's taking place independently of ourselves or independently of the usual recruitment process. If you see it as a good opportunity for your business, we'll be happy to consider your attendance at that event once it fulfills all the other qualifying criteria. The focus we've called out is on group leisure, on MICE, on golf and luxury, and we'll be asking you in your application form to give us an estimate of how many contacts and meetings you'll expect to take at those shows. And then in terms of follow-up, when you receive your approval in writing from us, from the IMAP address, you'll also receive a post-activity claim form, or PAC form for short, and that's simply the form that'll help you to submit everything you need to send us through after you've completed your plan of activities. So it'll help you record those receipts and per diems and so on. And we ask you to submit that, not to delay. We need you to send through your claim 15 days after completion of the sales trip or attendance at the show. And we'll turn around that payment to you within 30 days. And then a bit later, maybe three to 6 months, we're just working on that at the moment, we'll be back in touch with you to try and evaluate how successful that those activities have been in driving sales for your business. So as I say, everything is hosted on tourismirelandindustryopportunities.com. I mentioned the other opportunities linked in through the Green Button campaign, and we've created a toolkit specially for our industry partners that you can use to incorporate into your communications, into your social media campaigns, even Zoom backgrounds, that kind of thing. And again, it's an opportunity to sort of benefit from the huge impact that this sales-focused campaign, which is all about encouraging overseas consumers to press the green button and book a holiday to Northern Ireland. You can take advantage of the halo effect of that campaign for your business. And as part of that, we're also very keen to get green button offers from Northern Ireland industry providers. During the pandemic, we've undertaken a huge refresh of our consumer website, ireland.com, which is where our international visitors first encounter Ireland. And there's much more of a sort of a seamless editorial magazine feel to the website, where offers are upfront and central. So it's, again, a great opportunity for you to win some business, a lot of traffic to your website from all of the eyeballs that'll be landing on the site thanks to that big international green button campaign. So everything stems from the Industry Opportunities website, where you'll find that toolkit, the offers campaign details, and where, of course, the IMAP opportunity is set out for you in detail. And that's really it from me. I'll hand back to Eimear, and we'll be happy to take your questions from now on.
That's great. Thanks very much, Niamh. And we'll just wait for Eimear's just about to come back on here as well now. And we're going to get straight into questions. Now, we've had some questions submitted in advance of the webinar, so we're going to start with those. And I see there's some questions coming through already in the chat. So we would encourage you, now's the time to drill down into the detail. If you do have any questions for Eimear or Niamh, now is the time to ask. So I'm just going to start with the first question, which is, I'm just starting out as a tourism business. Is this fund appropriate for me?
I suppose I can take that one. And I suppose it goes back to Niamh's very good slide where it details out how you should be market ready for this appropriate or for this particular scheme. So I suppose, do you have what the buyers in overseas markets want to offer, and are you trade ready? So are you able to offer commissionable rates and allocations, etc.? And do you have the resource both to attend the show or the sales calls in person, but also very importantly to do the follow-up in the following week and in the following months, because I suppose overseas market activity, it's not just a one-off, you know, it's a long-term investment, and many of our trade who have gone before, you know, they see it very much as a 3 to 5 year investment of continuously being there and building relationships and with people. So to that industry person who's just starting out, I suppose the natural stepping stone there would be to participate in, say, for the likes of the ITOA workshop or the Meet the Buyer workshop, which take place here, which cuts down that need for you to go out to market, and you can test I suppose your product and your relationships, etc. with operators that we bring to you rather than you going out to them. So I suppose it's just working out a very cost effective and efficient way for you to reach overseas buyers. So overseas markets mightn't be for you now at this particular point, but it could be, yeah, could be later on.
Okay. Thank you very much. And our next question is, I think you covered this in your slide, Eimear, was where can I find out more about upcoming events that I might actually target as part of this?
Yeah, so we have a calendar of our overseas events in partnership with Tourism Ireland on tourismni.com. And I suppose pre-pandemic, these would have been circulated in January. We would have been very clear about what events were happening each month when they were being recruited. But I'm sure everybody can appreciate now, as we start to return to that face-to-face and we start to plan, it's just made planning a bit more difficult. So as soon as we agree the activity with Tourism Ireland, we get it up on the calendar, and then we send out the recruitment details. So at the moment, you'll see a list of shows when they're happening. If the format is still TBC, we have that there. And then also if the recruitment is pending, or is it currently live, or when recruitment is due. So we try to keep it as up to date as possible. But I suppose we can all appreciate that it's very difficult at the moment to plan. But hopefully that should ease and become more clearer over the next few months as we ease our way out of the pandemic.
I think that's, I suppose we were discussing earlier, everything's fluid and moves at a slightly different pace, sometimes a lot pacier than in the past, which maybe is no bad thing. I think there's a couple of questions we've been submitted in advance, Niamh, which may be a bit more appropriate for you. And the first one's kind of specific. Would IBTM Barcelona and PCMA convening leaders be examples of eligible events for this fund?
Yes, I mean, IBTM is a well-established show for my sector, and attending a conference such as that, I think there are clear networking opportunities which, you know, are very valuable to industry. So I would say if you see that as a good opportunity for your business, we'd be happy to consider it under the IMAP.
Great. And again, in terms of future forward planning, so how would you gather costs required for the application if the events are, for example, taking place next year?
So I think it's kind of a common sense approach there. You need to take a look online and see the cost of flights and put in what you think is a reasonable cost. We know these things may fluctuate, but a reasonable cost, check, you know, some things it's pretty easy to establish, like a train fare, or from previous experience, you'll have an idea of taxis, but it's all very reasonably focused. You know, put in what you believe in good faith the activity will cost, and you know, there'll be that'll be fine from our point of view.
It's, as you said, it's a common sense approach is required. Again, just a kind of, I suppose this will be an easy one. Can 2 reps attend sales calls and get funding under the program?
Well, of course, you know, quite often people like to travel with 2 reps to a show or event, but under this specific program, to avoid any duplication of effort, we can only support the costs for 1 representative per business.
Okay, but of course that does not say 2 people can't attend, but you can only receive funding for 1.
That's it. That's it.
Perfect. And so we've had some questions that have been submitted as we've been talking, so please do continue to do that. I'll start with the first one, which is just about timescales. So does the activity have to be completed by the end of 2021, or can it extend into 2022, such as CC Nordic workshops, etc.?
So absolutely, the program is eligible for activities that are taking place right up to the end of March 2022, so the end of Q1.
Okay, and just in terms of the application process, and just so we're clear, our colleague has asked this question, so you require pre-approval. Retroactive applications are not acceptable, so everything has to be approved in advance.
That's correct, yeah.
That's correct. Great. Someone's asked this, and I'm not quite sure if maybe this is the proper place to answer, but someone's asked about commissionable rates, as it's new to our trade, so that maybe would indicate that this isn't probably the correct program for this particular business.
Yeah, I suppose that's all around pricing. And that would definitely, yes, be a separate webinar, but it's a good question actually, and I suppose that's back to your business model. You know, you would have different rates for the different markets that you're targeting. So operators will not want to pay the same price per head as, you know, what you offer the domestic market. So they will be looking for group rates and being able to take a commission off that. But that's certainly down to that's being market ready.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and you mentioned other webinars. I remember Tourism has done quite a few webinars on strategic pricing and things like that, and pricing for profit, which are all available on tourismandI.com, and which
that would be
provide
a good place
good
to have.
overviews.
Yeah, and I suppose our industry who've been engaged in this travel trade business and the business events area, you know, they're very familiar with that sort of pricing structure and in terms of the pricing offered to different markets. But I suppose that would be a great place to start, actually, would be to review that webinar that's happened.
Yeah, and I know there's more planned for the future also. This is quite a specific one. So it's question has said, we run total immersion English language courses as so English is a foreign language for foreigners who come abroad to study, combined with tourism each afternoon. So please note they can also leave after the experience to go back to their own country. Can we get help to attend industry workshops abroad? The objective would be to reach agreements with other agents in other countries. That is a very specific question. I don't know, is there enough detail there to give an answer? If not, we can always get in touch post webinar.
Yeah, I think I would have to pick that one up. Yeah, because it's very detailed around education and groups.
Yeah.
But yes, if I'll hopefully be able to see who.
Yeah,
we'll
see who
answered that question.
We'll have that detail.
I suppose
it'll be a case of what the tourism element is versus what the education and business element is as well. But yeah, best
I'm
address.
happy to have a chat with that person.
Yeah, in a different format. That's the end of the questions that we've received in. I can't see any more in yet, but we've another minute or two anyway. So if you do want to submit a question, now is your last opportunity. Eimear, I'm just going to pop up a couple of polls if that's okay, and that'll just give people to submit any extra questions that they have. So we've got two very short questions, and it really is just to help us to evaluate webinars as we're going forward, and they only take a couple of seconds. So the first one is, how would you rate today's session in terms of content and relevant to your business? So 1 being not relevant at all, and 5 being extremely relevant. And as I say, this is just a quick snapshot of feedback that actually really helps with our planning and programming of webinars as we go. So that is the first question. The second question we have, again, it's a very straightforward yes or no question. And do you plan to take any action within your business as a result of what you've heard today? So a very simple yes or no question. I'll keep that open for a couple of more seconds just to give everyone a chance to ask it. And I see we have another question in, which is great, so I'll get to that in a second. Okay, one final question's come in, or the last question's come in already. So the claim form needs to be submitted after 15 days of the activity taking place. So how does this work for multiple activities over a period of time?
Okay, that's a good question. What you can do if you're undertaking an activity in Q4 of this year and then other activity in Q1 of next year, you could actually submit your claim on the conclusion of your Q4 2021 activity, and then submit the claim form for the Q1. But to be honest, you know, if you want to keep it simple, you can wait until the end of your final activity before you submit your form. It's up to you. If you're keen to get, you know, the money through,
get reimbursed,
and we'd be happy to process that part of the application.
I suppose that again goes back to what you're saying about the common sense approach, and keep in contact. I suppose the email address is there on screen for you as well to see. It's imap@tourismireland.com as a good communication point as well. I can't see any more questions that have been submitted. That has been great. We've had some good engagement there. So Eimear, I will hand back to you just for a quick wrap up.
Yeah, thanks very much, Barry. I suppose just to wrap up, and hopefully everybody has found this morning's session very informative. As we said, this programme has been put together specifically for Northern Ireland trade to address, I suppose, the barriers that were communicated to us by your industry and how we can best support you as both agencies to return to overseas markets. So a huge thanks to Niamh Kinsella and her team for all her team's hard work developing this program with us, and we very much appreciate it. And I know her team are ready and waiting for those applications. So as Niamh said, don't delay, guys. If you know events coming up and shows and activity that you want to do, take that common sense approach and map it out and send it through to Niamh and the team. A thanks to my colleagues in the Business Solutions team who work extremely hard on preparing all these virtual platforms and opportunities and engaging with operators. There's huge work that has gone on, so a big thank you to them, and also to Barry and the team at Eventful for sorting out all the technology for us this morning, slides and videos and all questions and answers. So thank you very much, Barry. And most of all, thank you everybody who's joined the session this morning and for your continued support and positivity during these challenging times. And we're very much looking forward to seeing all our Northern Ireland tourism businesses back out in market, selling our wonderful destination, pressing green buttons and embracing giant spirits all around. So thank you very much. And just a reminder, a recording will be sent out, and please read through all the guidance and don't hesitate to get in contact with us. So thank you very much, everybody, and have a lovely weekend. Bye-bye.
Thanks.